Okay, so we tried our hand at doing different plots. Now and we created data. We used NumPy to create X's and Y's and all sorts of data. But now let's see if we can actually plot real data. So let's take a look at the Bibitor sales file. And see if we can create some visualizations with that data. All right. So let's start with plotting the sales, and we'll put that along the y-axis based on date. Okay, so our question relates to an understanding of sales per day, right? So what is, the question is, what is our sales per day? All right, so let's first of all make sure I'm at my right subdirectory. Always have a tendency to mess that up, so let's do that. Get my subdirectory here in my Python. Data companies, Bibitor, we're looking at June 2021, and that's where all my data is. All right, let's import the things we need. I'm going to start a cell. So import matplotlib dot dates as mdates. So this is a new sub-package within matplotlib. We also want to do the regular matplotlib .pyplot as plt. Oops. What happened there? Okay. And then we want to import pandas as PD, and I don't think I'm going to use NumPy, but we'll put it in there anyway just in case. NumPy as NB. Okay, so those are the things we've got to, I'm going to read these in right now so I don't forget later, so we don't have an error message, right? I'm just going to read that stuff in. I could have just run the cell, same thing. Okay, let's read in our data as a data frame. df equals pd.read underscore CSV, and we want to read in sales final 6/30/2021.csv, and I also want to change the date. Sales date, and we want to change that to pd dot to date time df sales date. Right, that's all stuff we've done before, right? So I'm going to run all this, run that whole cell, and it should read in my data. Okay, so now while that's reading in, we can look at each date throughout the year and plot total sales by date. All right? So we can either try and do it through the plotting mechanism, or we can try and create a summary of all of our sales by date and group by sales date, right? So I think that's probably going to be the most effective. So let's set up a new cell, and here we're going to call it grouped. So we're going back to our aggregation that we did before, grouped. So we're going to grouped, or df group by, and here we want to group by sales date. Okay, so that's going to be our group. And we want to create a summary, which is grouped. And what we want to do is we want to look at sales dollars dot, and our aggregation function is going to simply be, and I could put in here np.sum, and that should do it. All right, or I could put in sum in quotation marks, and that will also work. All right, and then I want to reset the index, and I want to reset it to sales date. So we're going to df summary, because what happens is this is going to have this. I want to have sales dollars as its own variable. All right, so I'm going to reset. I'm going to take df summary, and I'm going to reset the index, and the level I'm setting is sales date. All right, we'll show kind of the progression of those two things. I think I got that all right. Index, beautiful. Okay, so let's do our group by. I'm going to run these line by line. All right, so there's my group by. I'm going to create my summary. Run that line. So now I've got my summary. So I have a series of 364. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Sales date is the index. So what I really want is I want sales date and sales dollars as their own variable. So I'm going to reset this. And now I should see two variables, right? So the two variables I see are sales date and index, and or sales date and sales dollars. And then now each one of these has its own index. Okay. Beautiful. So the next thing we want to do, because we've got really big numbers, is we want to put this into thousands, right? Or into the millions, all right? So the first thing I want to do is try and mess with something to take into account large numbers. So this function that I'm going to show you takes large numbers in the y-axis and transforms them into k for numbers less than a million. All right, so if I had 1k, that'd be 1,000. And m for numbers 1 million and greater. Right, so just change the visualization, okay? Get us up here a little bit so we can see this. Okay, so we're going to def. We're defining a function, and it's going to be called format number. We're defining our own function, and we're going to put in the data value and index. Okay, so that's going to be that's what we're going to do, and colon. So if data value is greater than or equal to 1 million, put greater than or equal to, come on, get it right, 1 million, right, colon, formatter equals, quotation mark, $, space, I'm going to put a squiggly bracket in there, and then this is 1.0f, so we're going to put the number in there, and then we're going to add k, m, because this is the million, and that's dot format data value times 0.001 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Right? So I'm just taking the data value and making it smaller. Right? So if it's $1 million, it's going to come out 1M, 1.0M. Right? Else, formatter equals quotation marks, $, space, squiggly, 1.0F in the squiggly, K dot format data value times 0.001. Return formatter. Oops. Keeps on wanting to fill that in. Return formatter. There we go. All right. So what that's going to do is when I call up the function format number, it's going to run any value, any data value we have in there through this if then else statement. So we're going to go figure AX equals PLT subplots. And usually I just put the blank in there, and we only have one, we're not going to do multiple subplots here, but I want to put in some more things here. I want to make the figure size that shows up here in plots a little bit bigger. So I'm going to put fig size is equal to 8 by 6, and I can set my dots per inch, DPI, equal to 80. That's what I'm going to leave it as. All right. So that's just going to make it a little bit wider versus a square. And you can kind of mess around with that and change your shape. All right. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to put in the plot. So AX plot. So this is a plot, not a bar chart. We're just doing a plot. So we're taking DF summary. That's the data that we're going to be using. And we're going to plot sales date as one variable. That's our X. And the Y is going to be, right? So we take a look at DF summary. What do I have? I have sales dollars, right? So that's what I'm going to be plotting. So DF summary, and we want to plot sales dollars. All right, I'm going to make the line width equal to 2.0. All right, so I'm going to DFMT, I'm going to define as mdates dot date formatter, and it is in the format of month and year. And so different ways to show that. It always starts like with a percent, and this is just going to give me B stands for kind of JAN for January, DES, DEC for December. So I want it by month, space, and then year, but just the last 2 digits of the year, and that's a small y. You can always change your date format and use different tick marks. So the PLT.Y ticks are going to be NP a range from 0 to the max of DF summary sales dollars And to that, I want to add plus 1, and I want to do it, so I'm not just going to 0, and I want to do it in steps of 500,000. All right, so you can change that as well. All right, let's go to our next thing. So we want, this is just going to give me a tighter layout. So plt.tight layout. And then I'm going to set my labels, AX, X-axis, set major formatter is DFMT, so that's my date format. That's on the X-axis, and on the Y-axis, set major formatter equal to format number, which is the function I defined up here. All right, let's see if any of this works. plt.show. Okay, so we're going to run, we already ran this. I'm going to put in my cell here. I've already run my data. So I'm going to put my cell here and run this. Let's see what happens. Okay, there we go. It's, wow, it really did not look very good. So it looks like I got my dates right. It doesn't look like it liked my formatting of my, for the M's. So let's make sure I've got that right. For values greater than 1,000,000, colon, formatter, yeah, I got that, got that, beautiful. Format value, yes, else, do it this way. So if data value, and the data value sales dollars, yeah, it should have worked. I'm not quite sure why it didn't work, but that's okay. I'll keep on messing around with it. But what this does is, this is kind of jammed together here a little bit. It's just a little, I'll figure out what's going on here in the next video, figure out what's going on here with why these are not showing up. So the K's are definitely working, but the M's are not. So I'm not really sure why it's not seeing that, but we will figure that out. That is not going to be a problem. We'll get that. All right, but again, this is just a first stab at trying to plot some of our Bibitor data.